All right, so fresh off my workout on this beast, and feeling a little better than I did yesterday about it. I had to start jogging rather than just walking. I need to amp it up a little bit. I wanted to talk about something that's positive today. And this is related to some of the stuff I've been talking about today, but it's in a positive manner. Hockey players. One comment I saw in particular, it's not the first time I've seen it, so I wanted to address it with my own personal experience. So, do hockey players really give a damn about us as hockey fans? Well, I can honestly say that if I didn't think hockey players were great people, and I'm talking about the National Hockey League, Western Hockey League, and every league in between, and every European league, if I didn't think it was genuinely a really good community and really good people, I wouldn't care, I wouldn't have a channel. It's not something I would be passionate about. I'd probably be covering baseball. I loved baseball when I was a kid. But part of what put me off of baseball was egos of baseball players. Or I'd be like, I like that guy. And then I'd see an interview and I'm like, no. And then I'd see another and I'm like, no. And it just got worse from there. As we went on from the 80s into the late 80s and then the early 90s, I was like, yeah, okay. And I was kind of done with baseball. The juicing really, to me, put away my interest in baseball. I'm also a big pitching guy. But what happened was I got drawn into hockey. Now, being Canadian, you'd think, well, of course, you're Canadian. You're obviously drawn into hockey. But part of what made it so strong is players are amazing. So I heard at one point, if you wrote a letter to a player and you included a self-addressed stamped envelope, they'd autograph a card and send it back to you. And I'm like, no. So I did it, and sure enough, yes. So somewhere in and amongst my collection, there should be, unless it got moved somewhere during many of the moves that I've done as an adult. Signed Rich Sutter, a signed Troy Gamble. I want to say Brett Hedican. I don't know that it was Brett Hedican. The Troy Gamble one was really fun for me. I was really happy to get that one. The Rich Sutter I was really happy to get as well, even though he was wearing a St. Louis jersey on the card that he signed, because he'd been traded. Or no, he left. I think he left as a free agent either way. So I got into this whole thing, and I thought that was kind of fun. You'd send a letter. See, kids, back in my day, you used to put things in an envelope. You go to the post office, and you'd send a message, and you'd wait like 2 weeks to get a message back, usually, unless somebody lived not too far away from you. And then you might get the message back in a month. We called that the mail. So hockey players were always messaging me back, but I've talked about this before. But I had difficulties as a teenager where there were some tough times in my home. The relationship between my parents was broken at the best of times, it seemed, and there was a lot of friction between my father and my father and my mother, and there was a lot of screaming and yelling and stuff getting thrown around the house, and I felt like. Part of me felt like, Shannon, you're supposed to be a teenager right now and enjoying yourself, and this doesn't feel like you're enjoying yourself. So there was a time where I felt kind of out of it, kind of lost, and I'm like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write. And I had heard that Ryan Walter was a really nice guy. I had heard that Ryan Walter was just a great guy and that he was religious. Now, at the time, I was religious myself. I'm not now. It's not a big deal if somebody is or isn't. I don't really care. But I'm not now. But at the time I was. And so that was important, and I thought that was kind of cool. So I sat down and I wrote Ryan Walter a letter. And what started out as just kind of a, hey Ryan, how you doing? I'm a fan, turned into, it might have been 3 pages. Handwritten. See, what we used to do was take a pen and write on a piece of paper. This was before we had the typey things with the processors and the printers. And so I actually hand wrote a letter. It was about 3 pages. Anyways, so I did that, and I just kind of just put everything on the paper about, this is how life is, and life kind of sucks. Because when you're living in that situation and the car pulls up and you go, okay, what dad's coming in? Is he going to be okay? Is he going to be normal? Is he going to be angry and throwing stuff? Is he going to be yelling and screaming? Is he going to be brooding? So is he going to come in, he's angry, and you're not sure what's going to set him off, and so you kind of sit in a corner and you're quiet. So I went into this whole thing, and I sent Ryan Walter a letter. Now, he could have sat down, signed a card, sent it back to me, and I would have been happy. He sent back a card he'd autographed. he sent back a booklet. So this little Christian booklet with all these hockey players in it, with all of these sort of how to go about day-to-day things. And it was for teens, which, you know, I was in my late teens, but still teens. And he had autographed in the middle of it, "Dear Shannon, you know, keep on keeping on," kind of thing. Let me know, give me an update on how things are going. Keep your chin up, Ryan. And he also included a copy of that book that he had autographed to my mother. Now, if it was just him looking and going, okay, I got to autograph these, where do I, okay, so I'll send this autograph stamped envelope back to this guy here on the return address, da-da-da-da. No. To have my mother's name, he had to read the letter. I exchanged letters with Ryan Walter twice. Once during that issue, and then when everything kind of blew up and we were on our own and we were doing our best, when it was just Mom and I, and that whole thing with my dad blew up and he was gone, so we were kind of trying to make ends meet on our own. And again, he wrote us back, not me, us, so me and my mother, and said, you know, I'm glad things are getting better. Let me know how things are going. And he meant it. And I sensed he meant it. I didn't write him again because I thought, no, that's okay. Ryan Walter's busy being a pro hockey player. That's fine. There are so many stories in the realm of the National Hockey League about great people. So when I do a video where I have some concern about a player's health, a player's mental well-being, anything like that, I mean it. Because hockey players care about the fans. There are many instances where hockey players will go out of their way to meet a fan. For instance, you know, Brock Besser in Vancouver, he goes to the prom with a girl, and it made her life that he did that. Didn't have to do that. Again, you could sit down and you could autograph something for him and say, you know what? I just don't have the time. I'm really, really busy as a professional athlete. I don't have the time. Here's an autograph card. Here's a couple of booklets for you. Here's, you know, I'll give you tickets to a hockey game. And that person would probably be overjoyed. But they go, nope, I'm going to do you one better, and I'm going to go above and beyond for you. And it's that reason that I love hockey. I love hockey players. And I have never and will never say a bad word about Ryan Walter. At this point, people are going to be like, well, why haven't you ever done a video about him? I don't know. It's kind of been a personal thing. And I've never sought him out in the real world. And I know, you know, every now and then I'll look him up to see what he's doing now and what's going on with him now. And again, great guy, very well spoken, but I never had a bad word to say about him. And that seemed to be just who he was. He was a very caring person. So when I see stuff going on in the hockey world and I think, you know, about the players, I think of them as people. I don't think of them as a commodity on the ice. Today I actually ordered this from the Hockey News website. I ordered the yearbook because this one has the East Coast cover, and I thought that'd be really fun to have. And I even got it with a rush delivery because I thought, yeah, I want to have this as soon as possible so I can go through their predictions. But when I do videos and I talk about players, they matter. Part of the reason why I do videos on journeymen and on some of the players I do videos on, the people are like, why is he talking about that guy? Because they're forgotten. I can sit down and I can do videos on, a million different hockey players that might be big star players, and the videos might do really well. But I think it's just as important to talk about a guy like, you know, yesterday I talked about Michel Petit, a guy who plays over 800 games in the NHL, and largely would be forgotten at this stage. Because I think that's kind of sad that a guy would play in the league for over 10 years and kind of sort of be forgotten. So those are the videos I make that are for fun. I know they're not going to get a lot of hits, but it's sort of my way of giving back. It's sort of my way of giving back to hockey players who, when I was a kid, I would watch them on TV, and I really enjoyed watching them on TV. And because of people like Ryan Walter, because of people like Sidney Crosby, and I know there's people who don't like Sidney Crosby, but there are so many stories, and I don't have time for all of them, about Sidney Crosby being a great person when he meets fans, that yes, you will have occasions where somebody says, I walked up to so-and-so when he was having dinner with his family, and he wouldn't even autograph the 15 hockey cards I had, just happened to have in my pocket. And my napkin from dinner. He wouldn't sign them. What a jerk. When I hear stories like that, I think, was he out with his family? Was he busy? As there's times where if a guy's busy or having a bad day, having a pen stuck in his face and being told, can you sign this? It might be like, not right now. Just, I'm not in the mood. So that's always kind of where I put that. And that's why when a player in the National Hockey League is kind of a jerk, they stand out. Because they're great people. So, there you go. Just my opinion on hockey players in general. And just my own personal experience. And I just wanted to throw that out there while we're discussing everything else hockey player related. And whether or not we care. Whether this is just going to be a situation where we don't care about the players. We don't care about anything in their lives. Because who cares? I do. I actually do. I can honestly say that I do, and that's kind of how I've always felt about this kind of thing. So there you go. Here's my goal with this video. My goal with this video is something a little bit different. Tell me in the comment section below an experience you've had where somebody's gone above and beyond for you. Now, if it's a hockey player, great. And if it's not, that's perfectly fine too. And in a time and age where it's easy to feel like, nobody really gives a damn. People do. So if you're in a situation right now, you're like, nobody cares about me. People do. And they will. So let me know what you guys think. And of course, if you have like a really positive story about, a professional player. Doesn't matter if it's hockey, it can be baseball, whatever you want. Throw it in the comment section below. Let's get some positivity going on out there. I'm ready to start singing the New Day song, but I'm not gonna because I value having subscribers. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And Ryan Walter will always be a revered player for me. Thanks a lot for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.